What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Emporium for the review of the movie Us. As I told you in my non-spoiler review, I love this movie. Lupita Nyong'o is amazing in the movie, but it has a lot of depth. It has a lot of nuance. It has a lot going for it that almost makes you have to see the movie twice because you have to understand what this movie is implying, where it's trying to go. And there's a lot of, explanations out there. There's a lot of theories, but the ones that stick out to me the most are from a surface level view of this movie. We have the Adelaide character who we find out is actually Red. The two characters have switched back and forth between, at the beginning of the movie when the little girl grabs her by the neck and pushes her into the underneath where the tethered are. And so Red takes over her life, has kids, has a husband, and Adelaide, who is been basically broken down and just turned into like a psychotic person. She has formed an army basically that are going to come up and are going to untether themselves because the tethered are basically these characters that are not only doppelgangers, but they are almost like shadows. Because Adelaide says it in the movie, they're shadows of the characters, so they are copying or mimics. They're basically doing things that are almost the exact nature of what the characters are doing. So when this movie starts out and you see that, you don't see what really happens till the end of the movie. But what's fascinating from the surface level of this story is you see once you know that Red's the main character, you see how scared, how like freaked out she is to go back to Santa Cruz. Not only does she not want to go back there, but she knows what the underground is like. She knows who these people are. She knows what basically the what's going on. She knows that the tethered are down there, that when people start getting killed, she basically knows who they are and kind of what's going on. And that's a fascinating kind of storytelling because you don't see it coming. You think it's just a family being like manipulated and terrorized by their doppelgangers, but you never understand why that is. And then there's this segment where Adelaide is telling Red about what's going on, and you don't understand it because you're so confused in the moment. But like I said, when I went back to see it, it's so clear as day that Red is like when they go to the beach, she's freaked out about it because she knows the vision building is there. Find yourself, which is an interesting thing about the take on this movie. But you can just see how she just reacts to everything. She reacts to the people dying. She reacts to when she sees Adelaide for the first time in forever. You see how she reacts when her son, who is kind of like a shadow version of her son that's down in the tethered, because Adelaide is having kids based off of Red having kids, and they're like the evil version of the kids, and it's really really interesting how it plays out. But when you get past the surface level, when you get past what Red is feeling, you start to get into the ideas of what the tethered are. They're basically, like I said, shadows of us. At least this is my feeling on it. Like, a lot of people will be different, but they're kind of shadow characters of us. They're you know characters or people or society that is tethered down to a social norm that they can't get out of because the rich and the powerful have kept them down. And when Adelaide gets taken in by the tethered because she does the dance, the ballet dance, which is really important to the story, she helps them to rise up and to take over the people that have the privilege. These are empty souls, as Adelaide says, that have no bearing on what the world is like. They have no imprint, and they're just rambling idiots who can't do anything. And so, when she brings them up to the surface, they see everything for the first time. You actually see Adelaide's character or Red's character, when she comes to the surface, everything is like enhanced. It's like creeping her out. It freaks her out. She doesn't talk because she doesn't know what to do because she doesn't have any vocal cords or anything like that, or not vocal cords, but she doesn't have the ability to like understand languages. That's why she doesn't speak. It's about like suppression. It's about, the norms of society being pushed down and, being pressured into situations they don't want to be in, and, how everything is just messed up in the world. And I know a lot of people don't believe it, but the movie is kind of a basis of toxicity in America that boils over to a point where it leads these group of people to take over the country and to join hands in a wall like fashion. And it was so interesting to see, because after everything was played out, after you see what Red has done, how she basically killed Adelaide, and then you see her backstory, you realize that everything that is happening is because of a situation, a narrative plot, a device, a person who has taken it upon themselves to change the social norm. And there's been, ideas about how these tethered are, when they come up and they kill everything, they don't know how to act. So Adelaide has, because she was born in the 80s, early 90s, and she sees the Hands Across America, that's what she trains them to kind of be the stopping point, the end point, just the overall ending for them. But it leads into what happens after that. They've killed everyone. Do they lead on to their normal life? Do they move on? What do they do? And that's left open to the imagination. But I also kind of feel that, like I said, it's dealing with toxicity, it's dealing with the issues of America and current society, is dealing with the fact that everything that is bad about us, that is evil, is literally below the surface. And you get that in the movie. Like Lupita Nyong'o's Red character, or Adelaide, whatever you want to consider when you're watching the movie, she literally goes below the surface to where everything had happened because these people had been experimented on, and they found a way to duplicate people. And it almost feels like that they've taken the negative energy and they've moved it down below. And once they found a way to control that energy, to control that negativity, they brought it to the surface. And that's when everybody starts dying and everybody starts getting killed off. All the people on the surface are being killed off, and they're being basically turned into a society of just rambling idiots who can't look into the side themselves, who are so at odds with each other, like we are in current society, that they just don't know how to work with each other. And it's a fascinating theory. It doesn't mean that that's the alternate theory, the ultimate idea, but that's how I feel about what's going on. There are other things. There's, like talk about how, you know, the family, Lupita Nyong'o, with Winston Duke, all the characters that are in that family, they have a good life. They have a respectable life. But Winston Duke's character is so envious of what, Tim Heidecker and Elizabeth Moss's family has. Their kids are spoiled. They have nice stuff. There's that whole incident with the flare gun. It's like, why don't you have a flare gun? And it's like, well, I have what I have. That's what I can afford. And it's a fascinating thing to look at because we're so wanting that big thing. Look at the lottery. We're always wanting to win millions of dollars, but we have what we have and we should be thankful for that. But we're always chasing the bigger, better things, and that's kind of what we're dealing with here. And it's interesting to see how when the tethers start coming up, they basically don't care about that kind of stuff. They care about moving on. But then you have the Elizabeth Moss and Tim Heidecker. They're kind of like with their doppelgangers. Elizabeth Moss is like cutting up herself, and Tim Heidecker's like jumping around excited. He's wearing the clothes and stuff like that. So it doesn't 100% match, but it's just an interesting movie that I want to delve deep more into at some point to do kind of like a retrospective, or kind of a theorized idea of what this movie really is. Because for spoilers, for Elizabeth Moss, Tim Heidecker die, you know, the whole doppelganger of the family dies. And it's just, when you see the final reveal, and then you see like the young boy, Evan Alex's character, when he goes back into the fire because he can, they're like mirror images of each other. And there's a whole thing about the 11:11 and the Bible verse and how we reap what we sow. And it's also like a mirror image. So 11:11 pops up a lot, and it's like a mirror image of each other. So these characters are like mirror images of each other, but they're not 100% there, and that's a fascinating thing. And I don't know, there's a lot of good stuff going to it. This is the kind of stuff that Rod Sterling dealt with in his Twilight Zone series. He dealt with a lot of social issues, a lot of, if you look at the monsters or do on Maple Street, that's all about people rallying up against each other, and the social norms break down, and just all these types of movies. The Eye of the Beholder, which is about how beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You have the ugly people and the attractive people, but it's switched. And that's kind of like how the Tim Heidecker and Elizabeth Moss characters play out. But that kind of stuff is what Jordan Peele, I think, is going for. The rabbits, there's a theory I read about that the rabbit situation is kind of like the internet networking, where they are all different and they go to different things and they do different things. And I don't really believe it, but it was an interesting theory about how the underground is like a very long network connected of the entire world. So they're like, it's almost like the interwebs or something. I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting, but I don't know if it's really true or not. But I'm going to leave it at that. There's probably way more that can be delved deeper. The fact that this is what I think and what I'm doing and what I'm saying, and this is taking this long to kind of explain, it just shows you that this movie has a deeper meaning to it. Maybe it's not so deep that there's not a real explanation, but the fact that Jordan Peele was able to create a film that not only is horrifying, but it actually makes you think, and it actually makes you wonder about things and wonder about society. I find it fascinating. So there you go. That's my spoiler take on Us. I hope you makes any sense, because that's what, like I said, it's a complicated film that not a lot of people are going to like. Not a lot of people are going to rewatch like I did. So, but anyways, thank you so much for watching the spoiler review of Us. If you like what you see, remember to rate, subscribe, check out the YouTube channel, Facebook, and Twitter. Email nlapola113@gmail.com if you have any questions. So I'm curious about what your theories are on Us. You don't have to put in the comments below. If you want to, message me, cool. But yeah, so there you go. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.